Lane Sr. Mr. Lane has devoted his life to Indian people, has traveled to Hampton all the way from Washington State to be with us this week. Highly honored and respected, Mr. Lane is a spiritual leader of the American Indian Science and Engineering Society. He's also a member of that prestigious organization's Council of Elders. He is also an active volunteer with a variety of community organizations and the recipient of numerous awards and honors, among them a presidential citation from former President Lyndon B. Johnson, the Eli S. Parker Award for Leadership, for Indian Leadership from ACES, the Baha'i Community United Nations Human Rights Award, Oregon State University's Distinguished Alumni Award, and the 1984 Governor's Distinguished Volunteer Award from the state of Washington.
Mitakepi. When I was a boy, I traveled around on the Standing Rock Reservation down to Rosebud, Cheyenne River, down to Pine Ridge, and over into Montana. And my mother had died when I was a small boy, so I was raised by my grandfather. And everywhere he went, he used that term to meet people, Mitakepi, which means, in the Sioux language, my relatives. And I've always thought about that because it was a positive statement. And I'm here to say that as far as I'm personally concerned, we are all the children of one father and one mother. What's the color of the skin got to do with it? If you're a real light, freckle-faced person, you get out in the sun, you're going to get sunburned. If your skin is a little dark, you get out in the sun, you're going to turn brown. And our brothers and sisters from way down in Africa, their skin turned black because of the nature of the seasons. But the four main colors of the Sioux are, to begin with, black. Well, the Thunder Beings live out in the west. The color black. And our people, long before they knew they were black people, honored the black race of people. They used the pipe. Then they would turn the pipe to the north, where Wazia, the white giant, lives, where the white snow comes to cover the Mother Earth like a blanket so she can sleep and rest. So in the springtime she can rise, wake up, and feed her children again. Then they would turn the pipe to the east, where the red dawn comes. The color red to represent themselves, the red race of people. Then they turn the pipe to the south, where at high noon everything looks kind of yellowish, and where the spirits live, that's to represent the yellow race of people. That's all four races of people. And our old people didn't realize there was anybody else except themselves. But they knew that in our world that there are all different races of people, or four different races of people. And we find that in speaking about terms of the world, we think of things in four dimensions. And the spring, when everything comes out of life, spring, summer, when you get to be in that age, fall, that's when you get to be older. In the winter, that's my age. And finally you come back where the beginning, the end is the beginning, and the beginning is the end. And I I truly feel, I don't want to get into people's religious feelings. However, I feel that we will all go to what we call the other side camp one day. That's when our days are done here. And I would also remind myself and those who want to hear it that our time here isn't that long. And we have to turn to one another. We have to love one another, care for one another. Because aren't we all underneath it all? Well, we're all related. And of course, I'll have some negative replies on that. That's okay. But I believe it. I believe that we are all relatives. And that the day will come on the other side camp. They said that when the old people leave this world, they said, as I watch him ride away or walk away, and he reaches the top of the rise, he turns and looks back and waves and slowly disappears out of sight. And a voice at my side said, he is gone. Gone where? His loss is only in our sight. Because at that very moment, the people on the other side camp, regardless of color of your skin, they see him come and say, well, now, hey, Willow, here he comes, or here she comes. And that's dying. There is no death, only a change of worlds. That's the way we feel. So, people who are, I love the people who have that quality inside them to pray, because it means to me that people are happy. When they're praying, they realize that we live in an atmosphere where we need to turn to one another. We need to love one another. We need to care for one another. And we have the Hookah ceremony. I'd like to mention just momentarily. In the Hookah ceremony, we take our children from 8 to 12 years old, when they're able to understand what's going on. And generally an old lady will be the one who runs this. The evening before the Hookah ceremony goes on, the children are fed only water, no food. And so you know growing children how they're always hungry, because they're going to need to replenish because they're growing. And so the next morning, when they wake up, of course they're very hungry and very thirsty. And so what the old people do, they'll kind of have them installed. Little boy and little girl, little boy, little girl, little boy, little girl, like that, a line like this. And of course the old people didn't sit on chairs, they sat on the ground, because that's their mother. The closer they come to the mother, the more they felt nourished. And so this old lady would come, and she'd take a piece of the heart of a buffalo, maybe a piece that long, cube about that square, then cut it just so it barely was clinging together. She'd go to the first little child, little girl maybe. She'd say, Kakuja, granddaughter, stick your tongue out. She'd go once, twice, 3 times. By this time, the little girl is so hungry that maybe saliva is running down. You know, and I got that hungry before. And then she says, all right, my granddaughter, before you take this little piece of buffalo meat, buffalo tongue, look to your left, look to your right, because you might find that you have a little cousin or a little friend that's just as hungry as you are. Before you take that piece of buffalo heart, you give him or her the first piece. Then you eat it. Then she would take, like the sweetgrass here. She'd fray the end of the sweetgrass, fray it down like this. Then she'd take cold water, stick that in there like that, soak the thing in it'll hold water, you know. And she'd go to her first little, what's called, kakoja, granddaughter. You are very thirsty, are you not? Ah, gee, grandmother, I am so thirsty. She said, all right. She said, she dipped this in this cold water. She said, stick your tongue out. Once, twice, 3 times. Then she'd stop and she'd say, all right, granddaughter. She said, now, look around. You may have a little brother, a little sister, a little friend who is as thirsty as you are. Before you take one single drop, you see that she or he gets a drop first. Then you take it. Well, it goes without saying that you can see what kind of people that results from treatment of that kind. And I dare say that it is rewarding to me to see our relatives from Africa, because in studying and looking into these old traditions, I find that our black people have the very, very same ideas. Look after your people first, then take care of yourselves. And I am so proud of this university here. I'm proud of what's happening here at Hampton, and because I believe that this mentality, not mentality, but the heartful feelings that you are generating in the students here is something that will go a long ways. And certainly, if you look at the world today, you'll see what condition we're in. In other words, it's not good. And we look at the television news. We look at what's happening over in Bosnia. Those people are all brothers, sisters, cousins, relatives. And what are they doing? They're killing one another over some stupid political thing. And I dare say that it could be better here.